The company is called O.P.M, Leasing Services. The founders will tell you the letters stand for a joke they never stopped finding funny. Other people's money. Born above a Brooklyn candy store in 1970, O.P.M grows into one of the 5 largest computer leasing firms in America. Its customers are blue-chip dreams: Merrill Lynch, Xerox, American Express, General Motors, and above all, Rockwell International. Banks, thrifts, insurers, and pension funds lend hundreds of millions so O.P.M can buy computers and lease them out. Except a shocking share of the leases are forged, altered, duplicated, or invented. Computers that do not exist. Signatures that were never signed. The same lease pledged to multiple lenders. For a decade, other people's money means exactly what it says. Tonight, the leasing company that turned Wall Street's favorite machines into salad oil tanks you could not see. And the rabbi, the lawyers, and the lenders who looked away until a forged Rockwell signature finally snapped the spell. Mordecai Weissman and Myron Goodman, friends, partners, Orthodox Jewish businessmen from Brooklyn, start O.P.M in 1970. The model is clean on a chalkboard. Borrow to buy a computer, lease it to a corporation, assign the lease to the lender as collateral, let the lease payment service the loan. Scale it, and you are in the infrastructure of the computer age. They grow fast because they are generous. Better terms than rivals, hungrier sales, the appearance of a miracle middleman. By the mid-70s, O.P.M is a Manhattan player. Goodman runs the daily machine, Weissman is the public partner. Lenders love the blue-chip names on the paper. Nobody wants to be the bore who insists on walking the loading dock. The fraud starts early, around 1972. A lease is altered. Then another. Then leases are pledged twice. Then leases are invented for machines that were never purchased. Inflated payments. Photocopied confidence. The computer revolution's paperwork turns out to be as easy to fake as a warehouse receipt. Rockwell becomes the great prop, the prestigious lessee whose name makes a loan officer relax. O.P.M's forgeries lean on that relaxation. Lenders advance more than $200 million over the life of the scheme. Losses at the end still exceed $100 million after the wreckage is totaled. The trustee will later put the fraud around $225 million. Along the way, the partners even buy into a Louisiana bank and use it to kite checks, a side scam so blatant that O.P.M pleads guilty to the kiting in 1980 and pays a fine, while the larger lease fraud is still breathing. It is equity funding logic again. If the verifier trusts the document is the vault. And here the story grows strange in a uniquely human way. Goodman, drowning in the lie, seeks counsel from religious and legal advisors. There are moments, documented later in painful trustee reports, when pieces of the truth leak to lawyers who continue for a time to process loan papers. Weissman himself will claim periods of horror and distance. The paper empire lesson is ugly. Knowledge of a fraud often arrives in fragments, and every fragment finds a reason to wait until Monday. In February 1981, a Rockwell lease signature is exposed as a forgery. The spell breaks the way salad oil broke, not with a sermon, but with one physical fact that cannot be talked back into ink. O.P.M files for bankruptcy the next month. Goodman draws 12 years in federal prison, Weissman 10, 5 other employees go down with them. The court-appointed trustee's report becomes a classic of American white-collar literature. Hundreds of pages naming the accountants, consultants, lawyers, bankers, and lessee representatives whose carelessness or self-interest kept other people's money flowing. The fraud required villains. It also required a city of people who did not want to be inconvenienced by the truth. O.P.M dies. The initials remain the purest brand name in this entire series, a company that told you, in 3 letters, what it was made of. Ask why the lenders kept saying yes, and you get the oldest answer in this series. The names on the leases were better than the interest rate on the loan. Rockwell, Merrill, Xerox. A credit officer who kills a Rockwell-backed deal is a credit officer who has to explain caution to a boss who only sees yield. So the forgeries did not have to be perfect. They only had to be good enough to survive a culture that rewarded speed over suspicion. Goodman and Weissman go to prison for years, not overnight. That matters. O.P.M is not Homestake's slap on the wrist. It is a reminder that when the victims are banks and pension funds with lawyers, the state can still grow a spine. The deeper scandal lives in the trustee report, the professional class that kept stamping yes. The founders forged leases. A whole industry forged excuses. Not every computer in the O.P.M. story was imaginary. That is what made the lie sticky. Mix real leases with forged ones, real deliveries with phantom serial numbers, and the occasional honest payment that keeps a lender calm, and you have DeAngelis's seawater trick translated into the language of IBM. Enough truth to photograph. Enough fiction to finance a lifestyle. Enough complexity that nobody wants to be the first to call the whole stack rotten. From candy store to skyscraper is the American fairy tale. O.P.M. tells the noir version, the skyline was rented with paper, and the paper was rented with nerve. Other people's money was never a joke. It was a business plan. If you have watched this series from the beginning, you can already name the ingredients without me. A source of trust that outruns scrutiny. A story too good to interrogate. A victim standing at a side door. A clock, hidden or denied. Every modern scheme in Season 2 is still that machine, only the costumes change. Computers, mutual funds, leases, tax shelters. The wardrobe updates, the body underneath does not. The playbook. What O.P.M. adds to the manual. Rule 1. If your collateral is a photocopy of a famous name, you are financing a ghost. Rule 2. Generous terms are not always competition. Sometimes they are a tip that the economics only work if the paper is fake. Rule 3. A fraud can survive a guilty plea for a smaller crime if everyone is still afraid to check the big one. The paper empire ledger adds O.P.M.'s forged computer leases, roughly 225 million, and notes the rare honesty of the letterhead, because money was never paper. It's belief wearing paper's clothes, and O.P.M. simply embroidered the belief with other people's initials. Next time, Hollywood's tax shelter. Fake oil wells, orange paint, and a victim list that includes Barbara Streisand, Jack Benny, and a roll call of people who were supposed to be too rich to fool. The Homestake Swindle. Subscribe.